Okay, so hello Sana, Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well, Alhamdulillah. So here I am with Sana Khurshid. Sana is a lawyer and a disability advocate, but I'll leave the rest of the introduction to Sana herself. Sana, could you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, yes. As you said, I am Sana Khurshid. I am a lawyer and I'm a disability advocate. I was a teenager in the first year of medical college when a car accident on the motorway left me paralyzed from the waist downwards, and I'm a wheelchair user because of that. So you can pretty much guess where the disability advocacy came from. So yeah, so I wasn't born with a disability, but I got it later on. So basically, yeah, how do I introduce myself? I'm Sana Khushi. That's it. As
That's it. You're
simple as
Sana Khurshid. That's a good introduction in and of
that.
itself.
That should be enough. It
It
shouldn't
is
it be?
enough. It is absolutely. Sana, I have a few questions because I was looking through your Instagram and your social media, and I was really impressed with what I saw. You're very active in, advocating for people with disabilities. So I just want to ask you a little bit about that. What are you really striving for? How has the journey been as a disability advocate for you?
See, the journey has been. It's been tough, it's been difficult, it's been slow and frustrating initially.
Hmm.
But Alhamdulillah, as the years have gone by, as I have become more vocal about the issues that I feel extremely close to, I've seen success. So it's been encouraging as well. It's not all been bad, but yes, uh, um, as I've been lucky and I've been privileged that I could use my voice, and people actually heard me when I raised my voice for the issues that I feel very passionate about. And I think that was the day. Initially after my accident, I'll tell you, from my personal perspective.
Yes, please.
Um, Initially after my accident, obviously it was very tough for me to accept
Hmm.
this new life that I had been thrust into. It felt very unfair and cruel that I had been robbed of everything in a second, and my dreams and whatever the life I had planned, it had all been taken away from me because of something which was not my fault. And
Hmm.
for me, I think it took me so many years to come to terms with my grief, to address my trauma, to actually accept myself as the person that I had become. Because, I always used to think of myself as the Sana before the accident and Sana after the accident. It took me a lot of years to realize that no, they're not two Sanas. I am still the same at my core. I am just a wheelchair user now. That's the only thing that has changed. Just a
Exactly.
physical, aspect that has changed. Nothing else has. At my core, I'm still the same. So, when I realized that, and a big factor in realizing that and accepting myself for who I was now was the fact that I was lucky enough to go to England for rehabilitation for my injury.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry, I didn't tell. I had suffered a spinal cord injury
I
at the
see.
cervical level, which
Hmm.
means I'm paralyzed from the neck downwards.
Hmm.
So when I went to UK for rehabilitation, it was there that I realized and where I saw people in worse of conditions than me who were living such fulfilling life.
Hmm.
And that was an eye opener. I went to England twice for a rehabilitation program. Once after my accident, a few months after my accident. I think when I came back from that first visit, I was very depressed, and I didn't accept myself. I didn't accept this wheelchair, and I was bed bound and homebound for the longest for a couple of years. But once but after a few years, I think I've been so lucky and I'm so blessed to be in a family full of doctors, and they have been so encouraging. They just kept pushing me when I had given up on myself. So I think they made me realize that enough is enough. I need to understand one simple fact that, um, the miracle in life that I was waiting for was not that I'd start walking again. It
Hmm.
was the very fact that I was alive.
Hmm.
So it took me so many years to just get that simple thing. But once I did, I it is when my life changed. We went back to my parents took me back to UK for another rehabilitation program, and because this time I was more receptive to it, I my mind and body was ready to accept. It is when I started. It was when my life changed and I became mobile, and I took the wheelchair. I didn't see it as a thing to despise. I took it as a means which will enable me to live an independent life. So that mindset changed. And once I came back to Pakistan, I the next step for you to live a life is you start your studies, or if you're already got a degree, you start working. So because my studies were cut short, I enrolled myself into a law degree. So when I did that, um I enrolled myself in the University of London International Program. So I went to a campus in Lahore over here just to see that I what are the options for me to attend college. And it was quite disappointing and disheartening to see that it was not accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go to college, but I couldn't because the college was not made for me and it wasn't ready. So anyway, that didn't matter. I had seen worse obstacles in my life which I'd overcome. So I did it online. I am self-taught, and as I think once you start on a journey, Allah starts making starts opening doors for you, as they
Of
say,
course.
and that's what we believe in. And so, I met some amazing teachers and mentors who taught me, who came home, used to teach me. And so I did that. I did my LLB, and then I enrolled myself into LLM. So I finished my master's degree.
Oh, wonderful.
And yeah. And and okay, so education was a one big factor in getting my life together. Another was going out, meeting friends,
Mhm.
doing stuff which we all love to do. So
Exactly.
I used to go out a lot to restaurants and stuff. Initially, when I went out, I used to be very self-conscious by the stares that I used to get. And but I think as I start once I firmly believe that once you accept yourself as you are, you set the tone for how the world perceives you.
Mm-hmm.
So once when I used to go out, I noticed that the stares and the whisperings and those curious gazes, they didn't bother me as much as they used to. And because everywhere over here, all restaurants, all buildings, cinemas, etc., were not accessible, so I used to get lifted up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I was being lifted by four waiters to a restaurant where one of the waiters, he lost his balance,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I was going to fall down.
Oh dear.
And and oh God, when I came back home, it hit me that what am I doing about this? I come home, I complain, I crave, and I moan that, oh, the society is not made for wheelchair users, our state has not facilitated us. But what am I actually doing for it? I am happy with the status quo. I'm happy being just lifted as it's not nice being lifted. It's very undignified, ungraceful, and it's very extremely dangerous. So,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why am I taking so many risks? So that is when this whole advocacy for accessibility came about. I started off with just calling out restaurants or any public space that I went to for their lack of access. So then I took it a step further. I got in touch with the civil advocacy firm. They were very kind enough they to have this. It took me as a pro bono client,
Mm-hmm.
and and then we started researching, and I was amazed and very surprised to find that the building regulations in our province make it mandatory for a ramp and an accessible toilet and parking spaces to be present at any and all public and commercial buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So then we started writing we sent letters to all relevant authorities, building and contractors, every person under the sun who was concerned with in this field. So, and the most ironic thing was we went to the Lahore Development Authority to meet with the town planner, and the town planner's office was on the first floor, and there was no lift.
Oh gosh.
I think the irony was lost on them because they were
Goodness.
not ready to accept the fact that all the buildings that they had approved were not accessible. They were so I'm generally not a person who likes to pick up fights or who gets into arguments just for the sake of it. And I'm not a confrontational person. So, I was telling the person that A, B, and C building, they are not accessible. And the guy kept on insisting, no, they have ramps. I was like, I just came from there 2 days ago. It's not, but please be my guest, go and see it for yourself. I don't want to argue. You go and see it for yourself. So anyway, then what we did was I filed with that firm. We filed a civil lawsuit in the Lahore High Court. It went on for 2 years, which was very surprising. I had thought that something, requesting and asking for such a basic, simple,
Exactly.
fundamental right would be like smooth sailing, but I was quite surprised it was not. And eventually, last November, it was November, yeah, my petition got dismissed because it didn't get dismissed or it got disposed of
Mhm.
because the Supreme Court had just given out a judgment, which is an all-encompassing, very broadly framed judgment on how every public space needs to be accessible for people with disabilities and all that. So, although that is very encouraging that they did, but let's just see how that translates into actual
Exactly.
practical reality. Because we know that rules and judgments, they do not translate into actual actions over here. So let's see.
Have you seen any change since this petition or since this judgment was passed? Did you notice any difference?
See, because of COVID, I think things are at a standstill. And but even before that, I think the results that I saw were where I personally and privately written letters to the owners of buildings or premises
Mhm.
and requesting them to get ramps, and people very kind enough to actually make ramps, and where they couldn't, and they used to tell me that there's no space, then I always suggested to keep portable ramps.
Mhm.
So, there's simple solutions. Not
Yeah.
everything needs to be a war or a battle, and it's not us against them or you against
Mhm.
me. There are ways to work together. We just need to be a little accommodating, accepting, and admit when we are wrong. See,
Mhm.
nobody can say they know everything. I'm still learning.
Mhm. Of
So
course.
I'm still learning about my condition, my injury. So yeah.
How has the response been? Because you said that everyone has been so, loving and accepting. And I think you mean in your social groups, if I'm not wrong, the people around you. So how have they reacted, responded to your, advocacy?
People around me, obviously, they have always supported me, encouraged me. But what the change that I've seen in strangers, and I
Hmm.
think over the years there has been I can see the acceptance in people. Whereas there were 20 curious cases towards me, and now I see people generally being more, they actively come and ask me if there's anything they can do for me, and they have stopped treating me like I'm some, I don't know, I've stopped sticking out like a sore thumb. I actually feel like I belong there. So yeah, I've seen a change in people's attitudes. I mean, the people I know already, I think they sometimes even forget that. A friend of mine, I said, pass me crisps, please. And she totally forgot that my hands don't work. And she was like, hold it. I'm like, come on. She's like, oh, I forgot. So whereas I was quite a bit pissed, but I was happy as well that, nobody sees me for the
Exactly.
injury. And I think I've worked hard to get to that point where you just see me for me and not for my injury.
That's a wonderful change, actually, to see this, that over the years it's just changed. Is there any one particular encounter that you remember that is maybe, amusing to you or a little bit awkward in terms of how people react to your disability?
There have been so many, and I don't know. I sort of filter out the noise and the ones who get to me. So I don't like to keep, but yeah, there have been so many down the lane. And, the most annoying things that have happened to me has been like, people direct, if they want to talk to me directly or want to know something about me, they don't ask me. They'd ask my family member or friend, whoever is standing next to me, and
Mm.
ask them like the most obnoxious questions, like, "Why are you in a chair? Can't
Oh
she
dear,
walk?
that's so hard.
Was she born with this disability, or did she get it later on?" Like, ask me. The, to start with, these questions are extremely obnoxious.
Yeah.
You should ask me, but just take me for a human being. And if you
Hmm.
want to know something about me, just address me. Don't pretend I'm not there when you're
Hmm.
talking to me. I'm not the third person. I'm right there. So that used to get to me, but now, like I said, I've seen a change in people. People are more accepting, accommodating, and I think a lot of I see a lot of people with disabilities, they're very visible now.
Hmm.
And there are, so I think that makes a difference too. And this government has been really good in one respect, that they have made people with disabilities sometimes front page news, and for the
Hmm.
good reason.
Yes.
So I think that has also helped in changing perceptions and mindsets, in make in and one person who with a disability or anything, any minor problem, issue, anything, if one person is vocal about that issue, so many people come up and they're like, "Oh, we also suffer from the same thing, or we know somebody who's going through the same circumstances as you." So that also helps, this whole
Of
concept of
course.
community. So yeah, generally I've seen changes for the better. Of course, a lot has to be done, but it's encouraging. I like to focus on the glass half full.
Exactly. And I think that's the best way to look at things. In terms of because I think there's generally a bit of an awkwardness around people in the general public because they don't know how to approach someone with a disability. They might like them, or they might want to talk to them as a friend, but then they're not sure how to go forward and do that. So what advice would you like to give to such people who aren't really sure of how to approach such a person? What can they do?
I think just coming up. I mean, if I talk about myself, just
Hmm.
coming up to me and saying hello, that's enough. That'll get the ball rolling. That's enough to break the ice. And it depends on the occasion and the mood and where I am.
Hmm.
If it's like, if I'm at a birthday party, obviously I would not like to be reminded and being asked about how and what happened,
Hmm.
because you're not in a frame of
Of
mind. But
course.
obviously, if I'm like, yes, but if I'm like conducting a talk where I am there to talk about myself, then obviously any and all question go. So it's like that with anybody. It's like a normal conversation. It's like, I'm not people with disabilities haven't come from Mars. So
Hmm.
or they're people. Forget about the disability. So do what you normally do. Say hello, how are you, and just go with that.
Go with the flow and just treat them as you would any other friend or any other person, right?
Exactly.
Um, Sana, can you tell me a little bit, because you told me that you've done your LLB, you've done your LLM. What do you consider to be your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement, I don't
Mhm.
know, I hope yet to come.
You're hoping for bigger achievements.
Yes, yes, why not? The sky
That,
should be the limit.
oh, that's wonderful. That's such a lovely mindset to have.
But yeah, like biggest achievement, I don't know, but small goals which I made for myself, and then
Hmm.
like I tell everybody when I talk to students as well, I'm like, forget big and keep those in mind too, but uh, give yourself small goals and achieve them. And when you achieve them, feel good for yourself and give yourself a pat on your back. You did that. So, so I do that as well. And I'm hoping bigger things are coming my way. So, yeah, let's see.
Inshallah, I'm sure they will come your way. Sana, can you tell me a little bit, because you said that you're obviously very vocal about, disability rights, and you're advocating for such things. I have seen some of your talks, by the way, and I think you're a magnificent speaker as well when you go on the news and such. Because obviously the government, fighting the government or fighting the laws in this country can be a little bit difficult. But what is one thing that you wish or that you're striving for change in terms of the inclusion of people with disabilities in this country?
I wish that I didn't have to ask as if it was a favor,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a given right. See,
Yes.
so I don't like the feeling that when I I request or I ask or I write about including people with disabilities in the mainstream. Why does it have to be a request? Why is it treated like somebody is going to do me a favor?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it should be a given, it's a fundamental right.
Absolutely.
So that really gets to me sometimes, and it is quite frustrating to, it's like they make you beg for your basic rights.
Exactly.
And and that's not just exclusive to people with disabilities. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people who will be bracketed in this group
Mm-hmm.
where they have to fight for their fundamental rights, and I wish that wasn't so. Inclusion of people who are different than you should be, like, in the mainstream, should be a given, because people need to realize, society needs to realize that you cannot thrive without all of the people, in it, by including all of them in it. Because at the end of it, everybody matters. We all matter. You matter. I matter. We are the ones who are making up this nation. So just, if you exclude like a big portion of the society, it's not only detrimental to them, it's you're going to miss a chance of learning so much from them who you are excluding. So yeah, that kind of gets to me, that why does it have to be a fight?
Mm,
Why do I have to fight for my rights?
exactly. It can be exhausting.
It is.
Do you consider this, well, I'll say your biggest struggle, but do you consider this a struggle as well for you? Or what are generally a few of the struggles that you go through?
Of course, definitely, I do feel it. Like I said, I had been hoping that my case would be resolved and an order passed. But yeah, it was very frustrating, and it was quite, I had thought that it'd be a given, and it was quite a shock to me, because, you expect that laws should be obeyed. We
Mm-hmm.
all do.
Mm-hmm.
And find out that those laws that affect a small section of society, just because it doesn't affect the majority, they are being ignored and they're not important. So it's frustrating, it's
Mm-hmm.
discouraging and disappointing, and it does make you feel very sad. But then I think you just I take that as a challenge, because you need to do that, and then you need to realize that it's not just about you, it's not about me. Getting a ramp made is not about me, it's about all those who are waiting for a building to be accessible for them to go and visit. It's for all those who want to go out, live a life, earn money, get an education. It's for everybody. So yeah, so I think that is what gets me going, and that is what encourages me to just keep raising my voice, because I feel that if I have been given a platform, if I've been privileged, that my voice reaches a few people who could actually do something about it, then I need to use my voice for that.
And I think you're doing a wonderful job at using your voice. I
I'm
want,
I'm, I'm trying. Let's see.
you're doing very well. You really are, because you're getting a lot of attention from the media. And I think that's always a good thing as well, because if your, your ideas or your voice gets on the news, if it gets to more people, and that's how you'll get your job done. So I really admire that about you. Sana, I want to know a little bit about you as Sana. So, what does a regular day look like for you? Because I know you're very active, fighting for rights. You're very active as a lawyer, I'm sure. So, what does a regular day for Sana look like?
Yeah. Whereas I'm active in getting rights for people, but I am very lazy in my real life. So typical day for me, not very glamorous. It's not very exciting. It's like any ordinary day.
Of course,
Um,
yeah.
I don't work full time. I do
Mhm,
freelance stuff, and whatever I do, I schedule it according to my own pace. I do not believe in putting pressure on myself, because
mhm,
I learned that a long time ago. Okay, it's not worth it, not putting your mental or physical health under, by overworking, by overstretching yourself. It's not healthy. So I don't do that. I pace my whole day according to what I want. And this corona, COVID has been an eye opener in the respect that, I've learned that I do not physically need to be in places to make my presence count.
Mm-hmm.
So during this past year, I've done a lot of work remotely, and these meetings and Google Meets have been a lifesaver. They've given me purpose and some direction to my day. Otherwise, yes, I was feeling quite lost in the last year. But yeah, typical day for me is like any, I don't know, it's mostly spent with family, or if there's work to do, there's work to do. The whole activity is professionally, I'm quite a lazy person.
You don't seem like a lazy person. But do you have any hobbies or, any recreational activities that you like to do?
I like to read any book that I get,
So you're a
and I
reader.
think yes, I am, but I'm in kind of a lull right now, and I think this social media is to blame. I think I'm so hooked on to scrolling Instagram and Twitter all day that I'm like, what have I actually achieved all day besides just scrolling on Insta and Twitter? But yes,
I think that
there
happens to
have
the best of us.
I know, and I think this past year I've just I think I've OD'd on Netflix.
That's all of us, Sana. That's
I
all of
know,
us right now. So it's okay.
yeah, and I made a lot of online shopping disasters.
Same. Me too, by the way. No, but I'm glad you seem to have a very nice balance of, your work, professional life, and also, spending time with yourself, with your family. So I think that's very healthy. You're taking it in a in a nice way.
Yes, one has to, and I have a small niece who just turned one
Oh,
last month.
lovely.
So she has been really entertaining. She's been entertaining us those past years. So I love spending time with my niece and my nephew, and yeah. So
Do you enjoy
it's
spending
like,
time with children?
yeah, I don't know about children, but these two.
Your niece and nephew, of course. So
So
Sana,
I do like
yeah.
spending time with children, like you said, and that is why I really I the most fun thing and the thing that I really enjoy is when I visit educational institutes
Mhm.
and have disability talks with children, because these children, I mean, they are the society that we are eventually going to become, and they
Of
are the
course. Yeah.
so yeah, that I guess I do like children.
Do you do a lot of these talks at schools? And what do you
I,
generally talk about?
I do, and I anything. I mean, it's like a no holds bar. I have interactive sessions where I because I want children. I want to educate them about
Mhm.
people with disabilities and people who are different from them. In this
Exactly. Yeah.
age where bullying is such a big
Mhm.
issue.
Mhm.
I just want to teach these young minds that we need to accept and be tolerant and be kind towards
Mhm.
anybody who think is different, who even the smallest thing, we as people who have a different accent,
Mhm.
you remember at that young age, everything is
Of
very
course.
funny, and
Yeah.
it's cool to make
Yeah.
fun of different accents and the way somebody dresses, and it's not cool anymore. So I
Mhm.
want
It's not.
to tell these children that we need to be, and it's not just about being silent. They need to actively do something to make their friends and whoever they know who's a little who suffers from any kind of discrimination or any issue. They need to actively help in including them in their mainstream or in their groups or whatever.
Mhm.
So, and then apart from that, I want to educate them about obviously with people with disability. So, and the questions these children ask me, I tell them, anything goes, and then questions they ask me, I'm like, oh, okay, I asked for it, but yeah. So it's nice. These curious young, they're very smart. These children are very smart. I mean, they're much smarter than what I was at their age. I think they're more aware
And more
and
confident as well, right?
James, and I think it's a different world now.
Yes, it is definitely. But they are the future of the next generation to come. So I think you're doing a very good job, because you have to educate, and children need to learn from a young age. What I really like about what you just said is that you're being very inclusive yourself right now, because you mentioned it's not just about people with disabilities, it's about people who are different in any way. So whether that's the accent, whether that's the way they dress, the way they look, I really love that you're including everyone into that sort of little awareness discussion. So I think that's a very good job that you're doing.
Thank you. Because we don't even realize, but we stereotype and label people, all the time.
We do. So, Sana, I think our little interview is coming to an end. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. You are such a ray of sunshine. I really love the way you look at things, and you're very active in everything you do. So I really admire that about you. So thank you so much, Sana, for agreeing to this interview.
Thank you. The pleasure has been all mine, and I had really, this didn't feel like an interview. It felt like a talk with a friend. So yes, I'm really glad you got in touch, and I enjoyed myself.
As did I, and I agree. It did not feel like an interview, and this is what I was aiming for. I really like this, a casual conversation, and it was really an absolute pleasure getting to know you, Sana. So thank you once again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me, and thanking you for all your kind words.
No worries.
Yes, I really appreciate them, and it is quite overwhelming to hear such good things being said about you. And
it's
I need to. Sometimes I think, are they actually talking about me? Is that me they're talking about? Yes.
There's no one here, Sana, so it is about you. So I'll be ending this meeting then. Thank you once again, and hopefully we'll be in touch soon. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said we'll connect on WhatsApp after this.
Yes, of course. We'll connect on WhatsApp. I'll see you then.
Okay.